Hi, this is Ted with Let Out the Clutch. Glad for you to join us today. I've got my friend Darryl Clark with us today. Say hello, Darryl.
Hi, how are you doing?
So, Darryl, you came to my attention through, I guess, your future son-in-law. Is that right?
Yes.
And he's an attorney in town, and I guess somehow I found out that we both like motorcycles. Is that right?
Yes. Yes, we do.
So, tell me about your background. So, you like motorcycles, but you also teach, don't you?
Yes, I started teaching back in 1996, and at the time I had epilepsy. I didn't get to drive, so my wife was having to take me everywhere, and then I had surgery and got to start driving, and then that Christmas following, she got me a motorcycle with a $100,000 life insurance policy. So I was like, okay, time to start riding.
What,
Since then, I've been riding.
what was that bike?
It was 650 KZ.
And that was what year was that again?
And that was in 98 when she got that. I started riding in December of 98. And then I rode that for about 3 months. I got me a brand new Suzuki Katana 600cc. I rode that about 12,000 miles, and I said, okay, I think I'm ready for something more upright. Got me a BMW, the 1150R.
Okay.
I bought it brand new, rode it 80,000 miles, and then changed over to the Yamahas. The Yamahas were less maintenance, didn't cost as much, and they last a lot longer. And I had an '04, 2007, 2014, and now I'm on a 2022,
Which model?
the FJR.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, back in the day, they had, what was the Yamaha, the big one? It was the Venture Royale or something like that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they had the big cruisers. Yes, they were fixed up, comparable to the Goldwing stuff.
I didn't own it, but I had a friend and I had a Honda and he had that Yamaha. Mine was a 750, but he had the Venture Royale and we would swap off every now and then. And
Mm-hmm.
that Venture Royale was a big, bad bike.
Yes.
But that was in probably the early 80s, so quite a while ago.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I think it was gold or bronze colored. I can't remember right now, but yeah, it was a early 80s Venture Royale. Now Yamaha doesn't have that name anymore. They changed it some.
I haven't seen them. I'm not sure if they're making them anymore or not now, because like used to, you would see like one out of every 4 or 5 bikes would be one of those.
And you said you're on an FJR?
Yes, it's a sport tour bike.
A sport touring bike.
And the reason I like it so much is because it's adjustable seats, heated grips, the windshield you can add, it raises and lowers and everything, and you can still get a full face helmet in the saddlebags.
A lot of storage. Now tell me this. When your name came to my attention, it was about training. So you've been an instructor for a while as well?
Yes, since 2015, I've been teaching MSF classes, starting at OSU, and I've taught a variety of places here in the metro area, and now I'm working at Metro Tech. We just opened up our classes last June.
Very nice. Now, that was kind of curious to me because I had a son that went through, I call it OKCCCCCC. They used to have over there by the fairgrounds.
Yes.
And they had classes, and that closed a while back, maybe a couple of years ago, I think. I'm not sure.
Those bikes that were out there at OSU, OKC, they shut down in March of last year, and then they transferred those bikes to our campus. That's when we opened up, just to try and keep a local site.
Well, and I admittedly try not to be a hypocrite, but I do want people to ride with licenses and endorsements, and I don't obey all the laws all the time, and
Right.
I don't wear all the gear all the time, but
Right.
I think having an endorsement is very important, and as an attorney for insurance purposes too.
Mm-hmm.
But where do people go to get an endorsement anymore for a motorcycle?
Well, you need to go to an MSF class. There's several places around the area where you can go take that 2-day course, and that's called a BRC, a basic rider course. That's for people that have never ridden before, and they vary from 125s up to 300 cc's. And they're nice and small for shorter people, or even for bigger, taller people. We have some enduros that they can ride. And what it is, it counts as 17 hours. There's a 5-hour e-course that they'll receive a week ahead of time. They'll complete that, bring that to class, and then we'll have 2 days of class. And that's going to be about 11 to 12 hours out on the range.
Is that standard for all the MSF courses?
Yes, that's the BRC. There's a BRC too, that's a 1-day course. Well, what that's for, it's still for beginning riders, but some people may already have their bikes that's been riding a while. And if they want to come and just do it in one day, it'll be a few less exercises than what you see in the 2-day course, but it still counts for your endorsement.
Now, do you know all the locations for MSF in Oklahoma? Is there different schools that do it?
There's over, I think, 19 locations now, from Tulsa all the way down to Lawton. I think we have one in McAllister maybe opening up, and then up to all the way out to Woodward.
Yeah, I tell this story and I've told it too many times, but I came here in '87 in the Air Force, and I brought my motorcycle with me that I'd had forever. I guess in 5 years, an '82 Honda. And I got here and they wouldn't let me ride on base without taking an MSF course.
Right. Yes.
But I had my endorsement from South Carolina where I was raised. And I was pretty pompous. I'm like, I don't need this class. Why am I having to do this? And they took me over to Midwest City someplace, and we went to the parking lot for 2 days. And
Right.
I learned a lot. And
Yes.
it's like, this is very helpful, even though I've been riding for 5 years.
Right.
Street bikes, I've been riding before that. But
Right.
yeah, the MSF classes are very valuable classes.
Yes.
So,
And I've seen people that didn't want to take the time because that MSF class is too long or it costs too much, and they just want to get it and go. And for instance, it was about 4 years ago, my wife and I were going down 240, and I was looking for another bike, and this Yamaha passed by. And I said, oh man, look at those taillights. Look at that. That looks so cool. Well, as they passed us, there was 3 riders. The first 2 were doing wheelies, passing us on 240, coming up to I-35. Well, by the time they got up to that turn to go northbound, we saw this body go up in the air and do a 720.
well, you watched it happen.
Fortunately, the first 2 people that pulled over were firemen. They went over to him, got him, checked him out and everything. He couldn't move. And then I went over to the bike, stood it upright, and those other 2 riders pulled back around. I asked them, I said, where'd y'all get your training at? Oh, we went through DPS. It took us 2 tries. Da, da, da. They'd only been riding for 2 days.
Well,
And I'm like, that's why this class is so important, because students that we have in that class are ones that's been riding for a while and just want to get better at what they're doing. And we have a chart that they fill out and grade themselves on different things. And as we go through the class, we do exercises. They go back to that chart and judge themselves on their skill level and other things and say, man, I didn't realize this was, man, I'm looking down too much. I'm not keeping my eyes up, just simple safety factors like that.
so there's the basic rider course, which is a couple days, and there's a level 2 class as
Yes,
well.
the BRC2 is a 1-day course.
Now, what made you get into being an instructor versus just a rider?
Well, because I've been teaching most of my life since '92, and I've coached wrestling and stuff, and I've had 5 knee surgeries, and I couldn't get down and do things like I used to on the mat. So I gave that up and then started looking for something else. I started riding the bike. I was like, oh, I love this. I started taking trips. I started going to a place called Tail of the Dragon back in '04. And ever since then, I've been going every year, and I love it. And that's another thing I do on the side.
Let's come back to that for a minute. But how did you become an instructor? Are there classes for instructors as well?
Well, OSU, they have the training site, and there's multiple. We have 3 people that's certified in the state of Oklahoma that can host that class, and they usually average 1 per year. It's a rider coach class. And it used to be like 3 weekends, like 3-day weekends, and now I think it's like 8 days straight course to become a rider coach.
Now, I told you I took it as a requirement to ride on the base, and that was in '87, maybe '88. So it's been a while. Are there any new training aids as far as videos or that kind of stuff? Do you let people watch themselves do things again, or how do you do that kind of thing?
Well, it's like the e-course that we assign, they have access to that rest of their lives. They can always look things up and see, the way we did things in class and so forth. Videos, it's sort of like, in the course, we always teach them to refer to MOM. MOM stands for Motorcycle Owner's Manual. But nowadays we tell them YouTube, because like for my bike, the FJR, there's a guy from Ohio that has all the things you can do to that bike. So I watch YouTube videos if I want to change out the windshield, if I want to make adjustments on suspension, whatever, things that I don't know how to do, I can pull up that website.
I think my question was more toward, do you videotape them training as well to see what they're doing, their mistakes and stuff like that, almost like a football coach?
No, we don't video. I did work at one school where he would He had a drone he would fly as we were in the second day of training, and then he would give them access to watch themselves.
That's what I'm saying. That might be kind of
Yes.
cool to see.
Yeah, and it was pretty neat because, people would look and say, man, I am looking at that line. I'm not keeping my head and eyes up. And they could see what they were doing. So, there's pros and cons both ways about that, but there are restrictions within the course, about having videos going.
And I believe the one I took was an MSF. I'm not sure if there's other training courses out there as well for street riding. I know there's some off-road, but I'm not sure about other street
Yes.
classes.
Yeah, there's some off-road classes. I'm not sure if we still have them available here in Oklahoma. Our state auditor had hit me up about the campus that I'm at, because we have about 5 acres right there, and it's offset by about 5 foot on the depth. And oh, that'd be a nice place. So I haven't hit my school up yet, but hopefully it's something we can get going there.
Well, I've got some friends down in Norman that do some off-road stuff, Dragoo,
Oh yeah.
but theirs is not learning how to ride. It's just getting better at riding off-road. So I didn't know if there's competitors at MSF for on-road riding as well. Are there other classes out there as well?
Yes, they do have some. And I'm not sure exactly what all they are, because I haven't got into it deep enough on the off-road stuff. But like, there was one of our rider coaches at OSU, OKC, that was one of those certified coaches.
If they come to one of your curriculum, do they have certain requirements as far as gear to wear, bring down?
Yes, ATGAT, all the gear all the time. Skin must be completely covered. DOT approved helmet, eye protection, everything.
Yeah, and that's interesting. That term and all the gear all the time. This is where I told you I'm trying to be a hypocrite. I don't wear all the gear all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But what do you consider all the gear? Is it just long sleeves, or does it need to be like CE?
Well, above the ankle boots,
Okay.
shoes, can be camping or hiking boots, jeans, preferably jeans, long sleeve shirts or jackets, full face helmets, or even a half helmet, as long as it's DOT approved, and eye protection. And they must have gloves, not fingerless, but full gloves.
But it's not CE rated armor and all that kind of stuff. You don't have to have all that stuff.
No.
All right. So you mentioned Tell the Dragon. That came up with some friends over the weekend talking about it in the car world and the motorcycle world. I have yet to be there. So let's talk about the Tell the Dragon. This is over in Tennessee.
Yes, it's right on the Tennessee-North Carolina state line. It's exactly 900 miles from Tinker Air Force Base. And there's an 11-mile strip from the state line going into Tennessee. It has 318 turns within those 11 miles, not a straightaway over 50 feet. And it's going there. Usually whenever I take people there, the last 2 that I took, the youngest guy was 71 years old. And we would ride, starting 1 week out. If we're leaving on a Sunday, that previous Sunday, we ride 150 miles the first day, 200 the second day, 250, then 300. Then that last day we take off, get our map together, see where all we want to go, and then we take that route. And there's times that when we left Oklahoma, there's a storm right in front of us. So from Oklahoma City to Clarksville, Arkansas, we went up to 412, went over into Arkansas, came back down. We rode 700 miles that day and only got, 300 miles out of Oklahoma City because of that weather. So there's things that come up that can change your schedule whenever you take that trip. But like the other 2 that I took, man, they were wanting to go straight out there. They said, yeah, we're going to go straight through. And sure enough, by the time we get to state line, they said, how far do y'all plan on going? I said, we're going all the way. I said, okay, I'll meet you in Nashville tonight, because they were riding outside of my limits. I don't like going that fast. And so I like to stay within 5 miles out of the speed limit, get better mileage. So I got to Nashville about 4 o'clock that afternoon, had dinner with my uncle. They showed up at 6:30. Then we went on in. So it turned out to be a real good trip.
Is this something you do for hobby or for free or for fun?
Yeah, I just do it for fun. And it's like there was incidents. They had that hurricane last year. And so at my school, we took some donations of canned food and everything out there to help them out. So we actually took 2 trips last year. One in October, I took my brother-in-law, and then took another one in November, and then took one of my friends. So
you take different routes to get to the trail by what the weather is, or it's called the trail.
Depending on the weather, we never ride it on a Friday through Sunday. because people from Florida all the way up to Ohio go there every weekend. So you don't want to ride it on a busy weekend. They have professional photographers there that will take your pics and stuff, so you can order a nice pic here and there. There was one that I ordered last year, and it showed me in a turn, and I'm on the inside of a right turn. I'm in lane position 3, which is all the way to the right, and there's an oncoming car that's in my lane. And I use that in class to show why it's so important to look ahead in those turns. Keep your head and eyes up. Because if you look at our stats, how many accidents occur on curves and intersections, it's because people aren't looking into the curves. They're looking at that sign that says dead end or sharp right turn.
Well, and how many of them are blind turns as well down there?
Right. I mean, you're not going to be able to see some of them. I'd say probably about 30% are blind turns. And it's like, so you've got to be, we hit it at 6 o'clock in the morning just to get familiar, get warmed up with it. Then by 7 o'clock, people start showing up. We'll go hit Highway 28, 411, all these others around there for the rest of the day because it's going to be packed. But we get to ride it with very less traffic on it.
Do you ride it multiple times that day?
That morning, I usually ride it about 4 times down and back. Because the first time, the speed limit is 30 mile an hour. And so I'll keep it like 20 to 25 just to get familiar with the turns and stuff. And every time I'll tell the guys, I say, I'm going to do 20 to 25. You keep it in your comfort zone. And then after that first run, we'll get to the end of it. I'll say, okay, how many times you go outside of your lane? He's like, 5 times, 6 times, I was like, now you see why it's so important to look further ahead. Keep yourself in your comfort zone. Work on your lane position. Look at the conditions of the road. That's what I do the first few trips. I'm looking, okay, did it rain there? Is there leaves on the road? Is there gravel brushed up on there? Did they just have a storm pass through? So we got to eliminate as many factors as we can, because being on the road, you're in a 30% chance of being in a wreck already because you have no protection.
So you do this for how many hours? A good morning or something like that, probably?
Oh, it takes about 30 minutes to go down and back. And so I'll do it for almost 2 hours.
And then go ride somewhere else?
And then we'll take a break. And it's just like, working out. When you start to get tired, you need to take a break. Or it's like studying. Because mentally, if you're not mentally focused on a motorcycle, your chances of getting in an accident increase tremendously.
That's on my list to do someday, but there's some kind of a tree of shame or something like that.
Yes.
What is that what it's called? Or something
There's
else?
a tree of shame down there, and they have millions of parts hanging on it. Because anyone that's ever had an accident, they've tried to put parts of their bike up there. And it's like, they had to start using the restaurant there because there's some nice gas tanks from some Harleys and other bikes that were so nice. They said, we'll just put this as decorations for the tables and stuff. So,
Well, and you're mixing with cars as well and sport cars and that sort of stuff as well.
right. Yeah, most of the parts on that tree is all from motorcycles.
What's the common problem that people face down there that cause the wrecks?
Well, the ones that wreck the most frequently are trying to outdo their skills. The risk is higher than the skills that they have. And it's like, wait, I got to stay up with my buddies. Hey, they're going 35 here. I can do this turn at 35, even though it's a 10 mile an hour turn. And they're not used to doing it. They're not familiar with their lean. They start scraping, and anytime you start scraping, it's going to raise that rear tire off the ground. So, familiarization with your bike and riding under those conditions is a very, very big factor in keeping yourself safe.
Now, I've not ridden that road. Is the pavement pretty smooth and well kept?
Yes.
Is it bank turns as well?
Yes. Yeah, there's one turn that it does about a 15-degree turn to the right and then back to the left. But the difference in elevation between that 40-yard distance is probably 6 foot. You'll go up and down. And so, they made it real good, for the conditions they have.
Well, I'm sure it's a tourist spot too.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Well, tell me this. You talked about wrecks, and one of the reasons I wanted to have you on is that I do not only want people to get their endorsement, but to ride safely within their abilities. You're a member of a safety commission as well, safety council?
The Oklahoma Motorcycle Safety Advisory Committee.
Tell me about that organization.
It's been around for a while, and we have members that from Edmond Police Department, Oklahoma Highway, OHP, our state department, OHSO and other members from Moore Norman Technology Center and stuff. So we have this meeting once a month, and we just go over things coming up. Like last month was our motorcycle month. You know, you saw on the signs and stuff on the highways is beware motorcycles. You know, just to help promote safety for our people.
I have some friends on the meet there as well. We've talked about this before the show started.
Mm-hmm.
But tell me this: is this open to the public, or is it just by invitation only?
Oh, the public can attend.
So when and where are these meetings?
They're at the Edmond Police Department every second Tuesday.
What time?
1 o'clock.
And is it statewide, or is this just a regional thing?
It's statewide.
And so you talk about wrecks and accidents and what's going on, or what
Yeah, we'll talk about stats that's come up, and not only on the road, but through legislature. They were trying to get one of the laws passed for, it's not lane splitting, but coming up, like if you're at a stoplight for motorcycles to be able to pull up and split the cars at an intersection when the light's red. Well, that didn't pass, so, no. We're not trying to be like California because our drivers aren't familiar with it.
I've been riding it, like we just mentioned, a long, long time, and I know lane splitting is something people think they want, but I'm not sure Okies are ready for lane splitting just yet.
Right.
But I do see a benefit if you're in a long line of traffic, especially on a hot day, if you could just sort of filter through the traffic to a stop.
Right.
Because you're going to be able to pull away faster. You're not really going to hold up traffic any by a motorcycle going through.
Right. Now, like if you're riding a motorcycle that gets overheated, you're out on a highway of construction and it's in July or August, and you know that thing's getting overheated, and pull to the shoulder and just ride up to that next exit. Just make sure you get off at that exit. Okay. Yeah. And then you shouldn't get a ticket. I'm not saying you won't, but normally that's what I've been told by OHP officers. They said, as long as you're getting off, because you're under a hazard right there. Your bike's getting overheated. As long as you pull off that next exit so you can let it cool off, so they see no problem with that.
That would be okay. It's been years ago. There was a rally in Austin called the Republic of Texas rally, I think is what it was called. And it was in June every year. And we came back and we were trying to get back in a hurry. We were on the highway and there was some kind of wreck ahead of us. And man, I'm on a Harley and it's hot. Yes. The engine's getting hot. And it's like, man, we're getting irritable. It's not comfortable wearing the gear and the heat and black asphalt and it's 95 degrees or hotter like that. So that would be nice. I don't think we did it that day. We finally got clear of it, but you brought some stats on wrecks. So what is the trends as far as Oklahoma and wrecks or nationwide or whatever you have?
Well, from our website, our state Oklahoma Highway Safety Office has started posting stats for motorcycle accidents from 2017 through 2021.
It's just for Oklahoma?
Yes, this is just Oklahoma stats on motorcycle accidents. So, for instance, in 2017, we had a total of 1,435 motorcycle accidents. Out of those, there was 89 deaths. Okay. So out of those deaths, there was 32 people out of that 89 that had their endorsements. And 48 of them did not have a helmet. And there was 16 of them that were unknown. So roughly around 64 probably didn't have the helmet. Okay. And that's out of 89, just in 2017. So when we compare those numbers, 17 to 18, numbers stayed the same. We're still at 89. Well, our number went up a little bit on ones that had endorsements, 35. And then without the helmet was 53. 53 of those 89 did not have a helmet.
And that's an interesting thing, too. And I'm going to go down an alley that need to go down, but it's interesting how the news latches on to whether they have a helmet or not, rather than the person that hit them wasn't paying attention. So,
right.
So I'm kind of defending the ones that don't wear the helmet because I think it should be our choice. That's my personal opinion.
Right.
And I've gone through phases in my life where I did not wear helmets.
Right.
And I was kind of a dichotomy. If I was riding a Harley, I tended to not to. If I was riding one of my sport bikes, I kind of did. So it's kind of that doesn't make any sense at all. There's no logic in that at all.
Right.
But yeah, some of the wrecks, the helmet wouldn't have made a difference. Mm-hmm. So I think that kind of muddies the water a little bit. So out of those, I'm just curious, and you probably don't have that number, but they might have been fatalities with or without a helmet. based upon the car and what the cause of death was. So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, they have it split up on the website to ones out of that 89. It'll show the number with a helmet, the number without a helmet, and the number unknown. Because they may not report it, they may not have found a helmet, thought they had one.
But my point is that some of those fatalities may have not died because of the helmet or not the helmet. It could have been the impact with the car that did it.
Regardless, yeah.
Right. So that's a little bit misleading.
Right.
But I do and really want to wear helmets now, and I wear one now. I've gone to a a full face but modular.
Yes.
A Shoei Neotech 2 is kind of my helmet of choice right now.
Yeah.
Because I like to be able to flip it up when I'm going to stop, I'm hot, or if I'm going in a convenience store for getting fuel, that kind of thing.
So you don't have to take it off. You can talk to people, they can hear you, and you can hear them better.
So how do you think these wrecks could be prevented? Did your stats tell you what caused the wrecks?
Well, it had multiple reasons of the accidents. It showed ones that were drug related. It shows percentages like drugs, drinking, tired, multiple factors, and you can click on that and it will show you, that number. And it's like it's a pretty neat little website. As you pull it up, you just click on 2017 and then compare each year 17 through 21. And then like for instance 21, that was one of our ones where we started increasing. Like 17 and 18 we had 89 deaths. 19 and 20 we were 66 and 62. You cut it back that much, that's good 15%. So that helped out, and I was like, all right, it's getting better. And then COVID year, right after COVID, people were at home, they had to have something to do, so we had more people riding. Our numbers went back up to 76 in 2021.
Well, I do agree with you that gear would help, but training would help. I think those are two very important things. I'd like to see some training for the drivers out there in the cages as well.
Yes.
That they had some awareness of what they're looking for in motorcycles. And we have all these signs that say, look out for bikes or whatever it is. But I'd like for there to be some initiative from a safety point of view to educate drivers through driver's ed, through the driving schools, that motorcycles are unique. They are vulnerable to an impact from your car, from you being on the phone or whatever you're doing.
Right.
I got a friend that's got a helmet in the back of her helmet, and I think it says, put down the phone or something like that.
Yes.
Because I think that might be a big part of those numbers as well. As you've gone more into the recent few years, there's more people on the phones when they're driving and trying to text or talk to somebody.
Right. And that's where, my wife and I traveled this past weekend up to Tulsa, and every time we passed someone, I'd see someone on their phone or something. And I was like, okay, now look at the factors around them. How far are they behind this car? And look how often they're looking up. See? And that's, you see things like that. And it's like, as riders, we have no protection. So we've got to learn to eliminate as many factors as we can. And that's what we talk about in our class. We'll show them a picture. Okay, what factors do you see here? What road conditions? And then open up that view, and it's like that visual acuity. At the end of the first day of class, I always tell my students, I said, okay, I want each one of you to come back tomorrow morning and tell me something new you've noticed on road conditions, signs, traffic. Tell me something new. So that tells me they're using that visual acuity now.
Yeah, and so many things are automatic when I ride a motorcycle now for all these years, but you've got to really be aware of what's around you, and you've got to anticipate people making mistakes in the cars ahead of you or pulling out from a side street or whatever it is, and it's just anticipating what's coming.
Right. How many more potholes have you seen this week compared to last week after all that rain?
Or erratic drivers or whatever is going on.
Right. And that's why in Oklahoma, we just got to be more alert of all the hazards. That's what this class is all about, is bringing it to their attention. What factors can we manipulate? Which ones can we take care of and just only have to deal with these few?
And eliminate those factors. And you don't know the story, but that tag is off of a Hyundai that hit me in South Dakota in 2023 running a stop sign.
Really?
Yeah, she was stopped, and I know she was stopped because I checked her, And then I went to look straight ahead, and next I know, I've got a blue car on my right leg, and
Oh,
I'm airborne. So
yeah.
there was no way to prevent that from my standpoint, because when I got T-boned, she had been in a stop, but then just got impatient and pulled out and just
Right.
ran the
Right.
stop sign. So
Yeah.
yeah, those are not fun,
Yeah.
not fun things at all.
I
But
bet.
I was at least wearing the gear and a
Yeah, there
helmet
you
and a
go.
leather jacket,
You
and
live to talk
I
about it.
did.
That's good. That
I
gear
still
does
have
help.
some shoulder issues, some other things going on as well.
Yeah.
So tell the dragon, what other trips do you like to make on a motorcycle?
When I first started out in the early 2000s, we used to go up to Pagosa Springs, 10 miles north of there. We'd cross over this creek and then we'd go down this gravel road until it came back over the creek and we'd set camp up. That evening, we would go ride Wolf Creek Pass.
Mhm.
The next day, we would go to Durango, ride up to Silverton, and ride $1 Million Highway, and then go to Four Corners. And that was a good little 3 or 4 day trip. As we go to Tail of the Dragon, my minimum on that's 4. I like 5 is what I like.
Days you're talking about?
Yes, because I like one full day. The disadvantage is that the last 2 years I've started hauling my bike there. And so when I get there, I'm more fresh and stuff, but I'm not warmed up. So I've got to ride local roads for 2 or 3 hours, get the feel of things, get my confidence back up before I go ride that.
And you mentioned all the gear all the time. Let's go back to that. What is your gear you ride on Tell the Dragon? What do you
My
wear?
gear, I wear my jeans, my boots. I've got a jacket that's got the padding and stuff. It keeps me. Those jackets keep you 10 degrees cooler, And then I've got the full face helmet. I've got the gloves.
Okay. So Tell the Dragon, Wolf Creek Pass, I'm familiar with that. Four Corners, great place to go. What about other parts of the country? Up to Utah, South Dakota?
We've been to Utah. We've been through there once, and I haven't got to go up northwest. And I told my wife, I said, that's the trip I want to make because I know a shop up there, and 2 guys have told me this. Whenever you go to Alaska, make sure you order brand new tires right before you hit Alaska. So right on up there, you get up to Washington, get them changed out, and then you'll have fresh tires to go there and back.
Well, the roads up there aren't the best either. I've got a
That's
friend
why
that-
I heard that 600 miles or whatever, all the way up to Alaska, going through Canada is the worst ones.
yeah, I've got a friend that did that last year, and it was hard on her motorcycle and everything else doing that
Yeah.
trip. So
Yeah.
where's your bucket list? What next? So the Northwest, Alaska.
Oh, I'll probably do Tail of the Dragon a few more times. I just turned 60 and I know my reactions and everything are getting slower. So I'd like to do it a couple more times before I end up on a three-wheeler, having to put that foot down. And so that's my goal. So I'll probably hit that. And my wife wants to start doing some traveling. And so, more up towards Fargo, places like that.
Is the FJ your favorite bike you had so far?
Yes, it is. From all the bikes I've had, like the earlier models, they used to have a problem with all the heat coming out right there by the tank, and they've got it under control now to where it's nothing like it used to be. So they're a lot more comfortable. Everything's more. It's like the cars. Everything's electronic. I can adjust my suspension electronically now. I'm like, okay, that's too much of a distraction. I just like when a speedometer and a tachometer up there, then my focus was better at staying up, looking ahead.
Very nice. Well, Darryl, thank you for coming on the show today. I appreciate it.
Well, you're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Well, this is Ted with Let Out the Clutch, and look forward to seeing you guys on the road. If you're enjoying these videos, please like, subscribe, and provide comments. Make us recommendations on what you'd like to see next in the shows. Thank you for watching.